We have Pashupati Advani, founder of Global Foray, joining us on the show at this point in time. Mr. Advani, thank you so much for joining us. Good morning.
Always a pleasure.
What do you make of the cues at this point in time? There is crude, and of course there are the earnings. How are you reading into the markets right now?
Well, I think let's just talk about crude first. I think that there's obviously pressure from Trump to get everybody to give cheaper crude. And so far he's asked, but it hasn't yet turned into actual crude coming out of the taps. But it looks like that Saudis are going to give more. It looks like they're going to, according to me, it looks like that India is going to continue to be able to buy oil from Iran. So that's good for us. So all in all, I don't think crude is such a bad situation. Again, because I think that the supplies will come, and the American president definitely does not want high prices at the petrol pumps going into his midterm elections. So that's the game he's playing, and those elections are in October, late October, early November. So basically, he's got to get everybody to start supplying by then. So his good friend Putin looks like he's going to turn the taps on. So let's see what happens.
Right.
But it also presumes that Donald Trump is still going to be the president in 3 months' time.
But Pashupati, your thoughts really? I mean, it's interesting. Betting is illegal, but if you want the revenues, maybe make it legal. That's the argument going on right now. So hey, there was overloading happening on trucks any which ways. Make it legal, because you anyways can't correct it.
Well, you can correct it because you introduce fines. I think if you introduce fines at the lower level, then there'd be huge opportunity for corruption, which is not a good place. And I think with our better roads, we can definitely, the challenge in the old days is why was the loading put? Because our roads were not good. We have better roads now, and the idea is to improve the efficiency. So, how you implement it, how you get compliance is a different story. But I think that if they're serious about implementing the higher loads with huge penalties.
They've done that now.
Yeah, but enforcing. Okay. I think the question is enforcing. The question is not...
Well, the higher loads need not be enforced, right? That option is left to the transporter. Let's assume that they are going out and doing it. The question mark would be that if 6 months ago everybody was celebrating that there will be higher CV sales because the load has been brought down, would that now reverse?
Well, I think so, but I think our CV market is a very sort of strange market because it looks like there's further demand coming. So because like you've got disruptors like Amazon and Flipkart that is making stuff move around all over the country. So there is going to be more demand for CV vehicles in the long term. In the short term, obviously people are going to say, fine, they were loading anyway. So I don't think it's going to make a difference, because the only difference is that today if I've got a truck which I've overloaded, today this truck becomes legal. So that's not going to stop me from buying another truck. I'm still going to go out and buy another truck. So I'm not concerned. I think there's obviously a reaction in things like Ashok, Leyland and Telco. Well, Telco, I don't know. That's a different story. But Ashok, Leyland definitely had a reaction. But I think it's short term, because I think there's so much opportunity for CVs. As long as the roads get better, it's a great opportunity.
In the near term, what is more probable? Will the large caps wilt in line with the broader markets, or do you think that the broader markets will start seeing some buying activity at this point in time to come back up in line with the large caps?
Well, the broader market has to come back so that for the market to come back, if you know what I mean. And if you don't have investors who are making money, then you have dissatisfied investors who are going to walk away from the market. And the current pull is, it looks to me that interest rates are going to go up. So then maybe there'll be a shift back from equities to fixed income like it was in the old days, which is fine, but it's not that healthy it's definitely not healthy for the equity markets, but I don't think it's healthy for markets in general, because we want risk capital. And debt is a lesser risk capital, but it's a safe haven in that sense. So I am concerned about that shift, because all of a sudden rates look like they're going up, so people are right now not shifting, but once the rates settle at maybe 0.5% or 1% higher, then maybe the shifts will start getting more pronounced. And there's certainly, according to me, the equity SIP seem to be slowing down, which is also not a good thing. So it's not very healthy for our market. However, the Nifty is at 11,000, the Sensex is over 36,000, so somebody's out there buying. But
the mid caps are not, though. The small caps aren't. Are they in the value zone for you as a long-term investor right now, Pashupati? And if so, what is in that value zone? I mean, what pockets, what themes are in the value zone?
I think you have to make a call. So of course there are a lot of companies that are down. I mean, the good ones are down 40 and 50%. The bad ones are down like 80%. And so again, we have to look for good promoters. We have to look for good businesses. And one of my colleagues in the market says he's bought bad promoters and good businesses, which is not so great. Right. But I think you have the opportunity again to find good promoters and good businesses. And I think you have to sift. And you have to look at guys who are, again, the key is going to be that a lot of companies have been able to benefit from GST because the unorganized sector has not been able to participate. But now the unorganized sector is beginning to participate because there seems to be more cash in the system. So they're going to be able to have to fight that battle. And whether they're able to do it or not, I don't know. But they've had, over the last 3 to 6 months, they've had increase in sales. Basically because they've been organized. But obviously, our public is going to buy as cheaply as possible, so they don't care if they're going to buy from the unorganized sector. And we still have too many people out of the loop who are quite happy to give cash. So I think those are the challenges that we face. So, these are structural reforms which take time to implement. It's a mental thing also. But yes, you do need to sit down with the drawing board and look for businesses that are actually going to make money.
Right. But Mr. Advani, what we've seen over the past few days is, earnings come through for some of these large caps and they've performed. That said, there are still concerns about valuations. Is it one of those cases where at this point in time, a lot of these investors who are buying into these large caps, they're disregarding valuations because there's few stocks out there which are coming through with earnings?
See, what's happened is that, any sort of new investor comes, and I would say 75 to 80% goes into the top 100 companies. So there isn't that much choice, except that you can say, do I buy the ones that are doing well, which are at slightly higher valuation in my mind, or do I buy the laggards and hope that they come back? So you have two schools of thought. And, portfolio managers as a whole tend to sort of overweight into the first pool, which is, I'll go into the better stocks simply because, they seem to be doing well and they say that momentum seems to be there. So, I think that's the way it's going to be. And, we have the situation where 10 stocks seem to be pulling the market. In fact, somebody sent me a WhatsApp saying that America has FANGs and we have Ritik. Yeah,
and we also have a Roche, and that was a very popular one. But so the question, Pashupati, is that are you buying any of those top 10 names or are you buying lower down the order?
See, I am, I guess, aligned to a retail.
You're not buying anything right now?
I am aligned to a retail investor, so I'm cherry picking.
You're cherry picking?
Yeah, I'm absolutely cherry picking.
So therefore, you're not buying the expensive large caps. You're buying the demolished mid caps and demolished small caps where the business model is sound.
Yeah, we hope. But then again, there's so many paradigm shifting. Like, for example, whether trucks are going to, with higher weight is going to be good for logistics companies. That's definitely a place when one has to be.
In logistic companies.
Yeah, but they've...
What about Ashok Leyland, though? Would you buy Ashok Leyland?
It's definitely worth looking at again, because it's down like, about 15-20% from its highs, maybe higher. I think it was at about 170. 170. So it's now at 125, 130. So I think that, yeah, it's definitely worth looking at, because like a mid cap, and it's a large cap, it's come down by 35-40%. So it's definitely worth looking at. Vinod's a friend, so I will,
Okay, my last question to you, Pashupati, and that is almost everybody thought about the MSP spends being the key trigger for growth in rural companies going ahead. Are you buying any rural-focused themes?
See, I think in the question of MSP, we're still not clear what the implementation is going to look like. And yes, the rural theme sounds good, but again, if the rural theme is going to disappear into the unorganized sector, then you've got a challenge. So, I think we have to wait for how long that plays out, and also how the governments implement MSP, which is not clear to me at all right now.
Okay, Mr. Advani, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us and taking us through your views in the markets.